This is a Hot Pie Original.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Amy Edwards Show. I'm your host, Amy Edwards, and I am here to get vulnerable and lift my voice and the voices of the guests in order for us all to rise higher and rock our lives more and more. And I'm so stoked that you're here. Thank you so much. What do I need to cover before we get into it today? Because I'm so excited. I know. I'm so excited about Laura Escudé. She is a friend of mine and just a phenomenal musician who is helping people find their artistic vision and do it by themselves. And she's just a total badass and talented beyond belief. So I'm really excited to share her personal transformation and her professional transformation as well. So stoked about that today. And if you can, do the things. Rate, review, subscribe, all that really matters. Subscribe to the newsletter too. It's at amyedwards.com and comes out every week along with these episodes with some little reminders of meditations and whatever else we got going on. So, all right, let's get rocking, shall we? Hello. Okay. So a few weeks ago, we talked about, I think it was the Cam Nelson episode. So that was 2 weeks ago. We talked about a practice of listing things that we have overcome and then being able to refer back to that when we need it in times of like, I can't do this, I can't do anything, which I have this. And so I started thinking about my list. And so I wanted to share something about that for you because you probably, I don't know, some of you may not know a lot about my background and my story, but I took up music when I was close to 40, just with some friends, kind of on a lark. And we put together a band and we were getting out there and playing cover songs and that kind of thing. And I was playing guitar, which I really, really liked. And I was not very good. I'm still whatever, I get by. I'm a rhythm guitarist. But I was like having to learn solos and things like that. Well, we decided to diversify a little bit and have other people sing songs. And they were like, will you sing a song? And I was like, I guess so. But I had no background in singing. I think I sang at church once when I was like 8 or 9 or something like that, like a line in a song or something. But I don't have a background in singing. My sister's always been the singer in our family. So you kind of like pick up your roles and, I thought, well, I'll get to that more in a little bit, but I hadn't sung in public for sure. And yet I like singing. I was in choir in high school and middle school. And so I do like it, but I hadn't done it since then. So a good solid 20 years of just singing in the car with the radio. So I started singing. I took on one song. I had a line in this Kings of Leon cover we did. And then I took on Our Lips Are Sealed. That was going to be my song. And it was very stressful for me. I practiced a lot, but I still wasn't taking voice lessons and I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't have confidence in my voice. And it was very outside my comfort zone and very scary. I mean, have you sang in public? It's so funny how these episodes align too, because today with Laura, our conversation veered into this and she started talking about other cultures and how they sing and how she didn't consider herself a singer and she had to move into that space. And I was like, that's wild because that's exactly what I was going to talk about today. And so anyway, I took on that song and I was getting by. But it wasn't great, right? And we would perform at Stubbs or wherever the indoors stage, we'd get gigs every now and then. And then I'd only been in the band, I don't know, 6-8 months, something like that. And maybe not even that. Actually, I don't even think it was that long. And we got a gig at a backyard party with a friend. Actually, my drummer, Yates, who has passed away, it was him. He was putting on a bunch of bands in his backyard and calling it Hagen Fest. His last name was Hagen. And so our main singer, and another girl that sang too, were going to be out of town. We had 6 people in the band. And so they were like, well, you're going to have to fill in as singer, Amy. I was like, oh, shit. All right. So I already pretty much knew the songs, so I tried to learn them and rehearse them. But when we got up there, I had to play guitar and sing, which I'd never really done before, very minimally. And it was so stressful. I messed up a bunch of times in front of people. And, I'm like 39, 38 years old at this time. So it's not like I'm like, a child messing up, right? Because, oh my God, isn't that cute? It wasn't cute. And I made faces and I was cringing and I was totally like having a panic attack, essentially. And I remember when we finished, I could not believe how happy I was to be done with that. And I stepped over, I probably was smoking a cigarette and having a drink. And I remember standing out there, putting my stuff away. And I talked to a friend and I was like, I am never singing again. I'm never singing again. It's like, no, like that was the most traumatic, horrible thing I've ever been through. And okay, I mean, not ever been through, but you get the drift. And it was just like, why did I put myself out there to do it? It felt so vulnerable because I just thought everyone was judging me and could hear every wrong note. And to me, there were many. And so it was extremely stressful. So I tried to make my peace with that and knew I was still going to have to sing some in the band. I mean, make my peace with the fact that I was going to have to sing again. So I started taking voice lessons. I signed up for some voice lessons and I did not align with this teacher. I didn't know it off the bat, but unfortunately, something about her teaching style was like deteriorating my confidence even more because I would hear, she would do this sing night where you'd all go sing. And there were other people that I thought I was just as good at, and she would just praise them. I thought I was as good at or better. And she would praise them. And yet to me, she would barely say anything. And she would be like, okay, whatever. And I thought, she hates me. She hates me. She hates my voice. I suck. I put all these stories on it and these labels. And anyway, I was getting less confident in it too. So luckily, she finally crossed a line. She said something about my mom and she was like, what did your mother do to you? And I was like, because I had no confidence. And I was super offended that she talked about my mom who's dead. And I was like, you ain't going to talk about my mama. And I quit. So I quit. I needed to find a new teacher. And I found a new teacher, luckily. And I started taking from someone new, and that started to gel. Like it started to make more sense, and I liked her style. And so I felt like I was on the right path. And actually, yeah, she's still my teacher. I still take a voice lesson every single week. Anyway, she helped me start to just at least gain a tiny foothold in confidence, right? And so at this time, then that girl band that I was in fell apart. It just, that is a whole nother story, but it fell apart and I was left on my own. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? And Yates at the time was in another band and he said, can you open for us? And, you have, get a band together, write some songs. And he said, you have 5 songs written, right? And I was like, yeah, no, I didn't at all. It was a total lie. But I had 1 song written. So I wrote 4 more songs. I had a month's time. I cobbled together a band and I got it together and we performed at Swan Dive. And so I opened for them. I was opening with 5 songs and I was really excited. And so I thought, well, I'm going to record these. And then I'm going to have that recording to, pitch to somebody in case I need it or something. So I recorded it. And when I recorded it, I think that's correct. I think it was that performance. If it wasn't that one, it was another one that was right around then. And I recorded that performance and I had it professionally done. And the professional, videographer and sound, the AV people called me and they said, hey, I could tell he was speaking very gingerly, and carefully. Like he was like, hey, there was a lot of other sound when we were recording you and we couldn't get your vocals right. So can you come in and dub your vocals on this recording? That's this live version. Well, in my mind, that meant you sound terrible. And so I did hear it. I did hear the original recording. He sent it to me. And I sounded terrible. I just thought, but that's the way phone recordings, and that's the way bad recordings are. They sound terrible. But at the time, I didn't really realize that. I just held it to mean I sound terrible. I can't sing. I am horrible. So I proceed to have a complete and total meltdown right there in the kitchen after this all happened. I fell down on the floor. I was crying. I was a mess. I think I started drinking. It was a sad scene. And I just thought, I'm really not good at this. Why am I even doing it? But somehow I picked myself up. I dubbed the vocals. Somehow I kept going. I kept showing up. I kept going to voice lessons. I kept writing songs. I kept trying. And at some point, something shifted when I kept doing it. And I finally got more confident in my own singing voice. I finally overcame that insecurity, that horrifiedness at my own voice. And all it was just keeping at it. I just kept at it. And I told myself, no, you know what? There's a lot, even if I am a crappy singer, there's a lot of shitty singers out there and they make it. So fuck it. I'm just going to keep going. I have something to say. I have a unique voice. And I picked the things that I didn't like about my voice too, and I improved them. I told them specifically to my voice coach. And I was like, it sounds heavy. What am I doing? How do I lift that? What do I do? What techniques do I do? And so I just practiced. So I guess the point of the story is that the other day I realized, hey, I like to sing and I think I'm a pretty good singer. And my magic albums, I'm proud of the way those sound. I worked hard to get my voice to where it needed to be, especially on volume 2, which I had to it's a 90s trip hop instead of the rock that I'm used to singing. So it was a whole different technique. And you know what? I worked on it and I got something that I felt good about. And, if you like it, that's enough. Lean into that. We project so much about all these other things. And like Laura says today, we get told we're not singers, or we tell ourselves that, or in my case, which you might identify with, maybe it's not singing, but it's something else. Perhaps you have a sibling and that's their role. And so I had that kind of holding me back too, because I was like, well, what's my sister going to feel like? Am I horning in on her role? She's always been the singer and she's damn good too. And here, what am I doing? She doesn't have a bunch of recordings done, or albums. And who do I think I am? So you get this doubt manifesting in a whole different way too, when you feel like you're outside your identity or getting in on somebody else's that's established. There's room for everybody. There's room for everybody. But I just want to say, if you identify with that at all, I feel you. And that's real. And that can be overcome. It all can be overcome. So don't forget to tap back into that practice too, of we can write things down. We can look back at what we've overcome. We can remember those and give ourselves the reminders. We are worth that for sure. And your voice totally matters, however you express it, singing or not. And if you are listening to this and be like, I dream of singing, but I suck. Okay, you don't. Or maybe you can work at it and improve to a place where you feel really good about it, where you can get on stage, where you can kill it, even if it's your speaking voice too, right? Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you today. And I'm really stoked about our guest today. I met her in Costa Rica in April when I went, and was blown away when I saw her perform. She performed with just her and her controller and her violin, and she is just a stellar performer. And she's going to talk about a program that she's developed called Transmute, where she teaches artists to do this, to be a one person show and control everything. And that is like incredible. She has an 8-week course that's coming up on July 5th, I believe it starts. And she'll talk about that. And if it interests you at all, it interests me a lot. So I asked a lot of questions about it, but that's not the whole reason that she was here. That is just an amazing thing that she does. And so I want to highlight that, but also just her personal journey. After she performed with Kanye for many years and has toured with so many different artists and performed with Grammys and American Idol, she has grown into her own version of what she wants to be and transformed not only what she does, but who she is and how she sees herself and overcoming an eating disorder. And it is a really incredible journey that I feel honored to share on this show. So thank you so much to Laura. And I want to tell you how to find her too. She's easy to find on Instagram. She is at Laura Escudé. That's Escude. And she is a future classical musician. And she says she's blending music, tech, and consciousness. And she created this Transmute Academy to help others do that too. And she's very, holistic about her approach to that as well. So beautiful. And it is enrolling now. And she has a new EP out called Enoughness. And it's just beautiful. She has some badass songs that they're all the stuff that we're talking about on this show. She has a song called I Love Me. I mean, like, hell yeah, I'm putting that on repeat. So anyway, and her work is so beautiful. So I'm just so excited to lift up her voice, literally, and in every other way, whatever other ways there are. So let's get to it today with Laura Escudé. Yay. I'm so glad you joined. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. You were like a shining light the moment that we met, because we met with East Forest. That was the moment that I met you in Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, what a magical night. I was like, am I dreaming? Pinch me, I'm dreaming.
I know. Have you been a fan of his for a long time?
I have, not too long, to be honest. I first, actually probably just like this year since I joined Fit for Service, I just had kind of heard his name and then got really into him and was listening to him just a lot leading up into the retreat, the summit in Costa Rica. So
yeah, I think I was into him just because I'm like a Ram Dass junkie, so
right.
That's really how I knew him. And then just kind of got led to the rest of it. So it was a real blessing. And I didn't know, much about you in that moment. And then I heard you play, I suppose the next day or something. And I was just so moved by you and how you show up and your music, and seeing you live is exceptional. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It just feels so good to hear that. I mean, it was literally my dream to perform for all of you in Costa Rica and get to perform with Vailana and Caitlin and do our whole divine feminine flow. It was amazing. It was just everything that I am wanting to do more of. So
yeah. And plus, I mean, I've performed, I've been a musician, and I'm not anywhere near your level, but I just have a appreciation too for like the talent and the training that it takes to do what you do by yourself, and even just to do it by yourself, like only leaning on yourself, I mean, yes, you've got your other techniques, but really in that moment, if something goes wrong, it's you.
It's true. Well, thank you for saying that. And, I heard you sing during the talent show.
Oh, yeah, you did.
You are a fabulous musician, my dear.
You know what? Thank you. And thank you for saying that, actually, because in my intro that I recorded after we're done, I'm going to talk about my singing journey and what a journey that has been for me, because I really didn't sing till I was about 40 years old. And so, and I had nervous breakdowns around it. It's just challenging to push yourself. And I'm curious, how you developing Transmute Academy, and how you moving into this phase of your life has been for you.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm 42. So I totally know, like, picking up things later on. Actually, like my whole spiritual journey has been pretty recent. Like just kind of almost had to go through it, right? I was just catapulted to it through this crazy that I had 5 years ago. That's a whole other story.
I want to know. I want to know.
Yeah. I'll just kind of like give a synopsis of all the things. But yeah, like, I think it's great that we can get into things later on. Midway through our life, we're just discovering all these new things, like singing for you. And for me, it's my spiritual practice. And so it's been an incredible journey. I mean, I started out as a violinist, classical violinist, got super into electronic music and the rave scene in college, moved to LA in 2004, and just was like, I'm going to get in the biz. And so started working for music technology companies and performing my own music and then working with other artists, and just became well known for being an expert in this software program called Ableton Live, which helps you to produce and perform music. And this was like way back in the day when it was kind of first just getting its legs. And so, I'm really just thankful for that opportunity, because that just allowed me to go on and work with all these other artists and toured with Kanye West for 7 years, worked with American Idol and the Grammys. And, Miguel was his DJ for a year, opened for him, DJ'd for Charlie XCX and Iggy Azalea, and just like all these amazing artists. And so through that journey, it was amazing, but I was really supporting other artists' dreams. And I saw a little niche. I saw a niche for me to help support independent artists that couldn't afford a person like me to come on tour with them and help them do all the music tech stuff. And what I was doing with these artists is like helping them to create and produce their live performances. So literally creating the music night after night, deciding, what the moments in the show are going to be, like remixing the songs, adding sound effects, drum sounds, keyboard sounds, vocal effects, auto tune, all that kind of stuff, delays, pitch shifting. I've like manipulate Kanye's voice live on stage, actually using a Wii controller, which I have right here, my gold Wii controller. So, that was just like so amazing for me to be able to work with these artists. But I really saw like, okay, how can independent artists be able to get this knowledge and to be able to, how can I empower and help empower independent artists to create their own live shows and to use the technology to be a one-person band, right? Because I'm a one woman show. I'm a one woman orchestra, I call myself. So it's been fun for me to create Transmute for that reason. I had this, like I said, I had 5 years ago, I had this health breakdown. I had been touring. I'd done shows with, did a show with Iggy and Kanye and Miguel over the course of like 3 days in different cities over the US, and, got back to LA, went out with my friends. The next day, my stomach completely just like blew up. I looked like I was 9 months pregnant. I mean, it was literally just like completely distended. Went to the hospital. The doctors had no idea what was going on. I was in the hospital for 21 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, it was terrible. It was awful. But through that was how I was. Dark night of the soul. And I had a lot of time to really look at my life and what I had created. And while I was really thankful for working with these artists and enjoyed that at that time, the stress of being not at home and traveling all around the world all the time, it just, wasn't resonating with my body anymore. I could feel it. And so, I went through that and decided to slowly was shifting my life, from that way of thinking. I kind of had like more of a victim mentality at that time. Like, why is this happening to me? What, I just like want to be out touring, and now I'm sidelined in the hospital. And for months afterwards, I couldn't do much of anything. And I just was like so angry. And through that experience, my consciousness started shifting, of course, as we do, we were doing the work, right? And so it's been amazing to now be in communities like fit for service with you, and, to be like experiencing new ways of being, just gratitude and love. And I just have so much gratitude and love for my experience then, because it really helped shape me and helped me to create my own personal brand. I didn't really have, I had a personal brand before. I've always done my artistry and my music, but I didn't really have the confidence to really take it on fully. And after that experience, I was like, you know what? I have a lot I want to say. It's stuck right here. I want to sing. I want to share my gifts with the world in a different way, and also help inspire and help empower other artists to do the same thing. So anyway, that's
how do you get it unstuck? What'd you do to get it I like that you said that, because I'm tuned into this throat chakra, and I'm use my voice. And really, for me, the puzzle pieces fit together with like my radio experience. Then I did sing and stuff, but I finally figured out, the common denominator, or writing or whatever it is, I'm using my voice. And I had to like get more confident in that regard. So what did you do to unstick it?
Well, a number of different things, and I'm still working on it. It's a lifelong process.
Yeah, I'm aware.
I also never took vocal lessons, but I'm a violinist, and I felt like I was a good singer, but I was shy. Or I was like, I think especially as Americans, we can have this mentality, this ingrained in us. Oh, you can't sing, or we were told that like when we were a kid. Oh, your voice doesn't sound good, or kids would say that, or I remember a kid told me that, and so it's like, oh gosh, I don't have a good voice, I can't sing,
and then we're telling ourselves that story from then on, going, well, I can't sing, right.
So I'm just going to play violin. Other cultures, everyone's singing, they're just chanting and singing, and they don't care what it sounds like. And I just think it's beautiful. So, for me, I don't think that I really knew how to use my voice in a number of ways, like both singing and speaking my truth and all of that stuff. And,
let me just say, and speaking my truth, I don't want to gloss over that, because that's such a big part of it. It's that, you know what? That's for me, that's where it stuck too. I wasn't like really speaking my truth. And that was like a huge learning experience, especially as women, Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing that women are taught, don't speak up, don't share your opinion. I was a people pleaser. I was just going through life like, oh yes, I agree with you. Oh, like, don't get mad at me. Just trying to smooth everything over. I mean, not everyone is like this.
Well, no, but I'm very much like that too. Like, I was pretty non-confrontational, and you just want to be sweet, and
make sure everyone likes you.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. So I've definitely been stepping more into, my opinions and speaking my truth. And, one big thing that has happened this past year was I've written a few articles on Medium about my health journeys. One being the journey 5 years ago when I was in the hospital.
What was that?
So they never quite figured it out. There's nothing.
It's just your body.
It's like a magical thing that just the catalyst for growth.
Your body was rebelling. Your body was rebelling. It was like, it's time. This is it. Whoa.
Yeah, this is really the catalyst for growth and transformation for me to get on the spiritual path. It's like, hey, like, you can't go party all over the world and expect for your body just to be okay. And it was more than that. It was more than a physical thing. It was a spiritual thing. So yeah. So I'm super thankful for that experience. And then in the past year, when COVID hit, I was alone and had a lot of time by myself to really just view how I was like operating, and just came to the realization that I had an eating disorder for 20 years that I wasn't even really aware of. I thought it was normal to obsess over, weighing my food, every single calorie, tracking, just all that kind of stuff. The orthorexia for me, the healthy eating, just being completely obsessed with.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, orthorexia. Just
I'm not familiar with that.
Healthy eating, right? And to a point where, it's detrimental, and so that was me. I was just, living my life in a very controlled way. And I started to feel really out of control during the beginning of the pandemic where, I was trying to eat perfectly and be in control, but then I would binge because my body would be like, oh, you're not giving me enough food. And so I was going through these cycles. And then I was like, okay, wait, this is really, I can't live this way. So I hired a nutritionist and a coach, and they were like, well, you have this list of foods that's a mile long that you can't eat. And I had been scarred from this hospitalization. So my list, I thought it was about the food. I didn't realize it was an energetic thing. So anyway, I started to eat these foods that I was afraid of, and to allow myself and give myself permission. And that's just when my whole life opened up. And I'm not saying yes, we should, eat I'm not even gonna name foods because I don't want to label foods as good or bad, but just for me, giving myself permission to allow myself to have fun, to be able to eat these fun foods has really opened up a lot for me in my creativity, just the brain space that I was using before, thinking about, okay, for lunch, I got to have this and I can only have this amount and and then I got to exercise this much. And, just the whole equation computation of the thing, it was just overrunning my life. And now I'm just I eat intuitively. I just eat what I want and stop when I'm full. And, it's amazing. So it's such a gift.
That makes me almost cry because I can completely relate with what you're saying. I've done that. I've gone through phases, and I've been in this zone right now where I've been trying to build mental toughness and was following this pretty strict program. And, I had a moment of doubt yesterday where I was like, is this really healthy? And even just what you're saying really speaks to me because I'm not so sure. I want to tap into that living life and just I love that you put it about space in your brain because it really does take up a lot of space in your brain.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize. I just feel so much more free as a person now that I'm not thinking of that stuff all the time. Yeah.
I like that you use the word free too. It does. It frees you. And I think we think the opposite so much, or we're conditioned by society or something, right?
Yeah. That being said, I've got friends that really works for them to be very structured, right?
Sure.
But just for me, in the way that I was brought up, it was very, very structured. And so for me, it's all about losing my inhibitions a bit more and letting go a bit more, not being so confined. But for other people, that it might be the opposite. So yeah, but it's just been beautiful for me that just the practice of eating intuitively, now I'm just at the point where I'm like, oh, that looks good, or that doesn't look good. I'm going to have a bite. Does it taste good? Does it feel good? Okay, I'll have a little bit more or I'll stop. And that is just also completely transformed my creativity and my art. And I just released an EP called Enoughness. And it's all about my journey through my healing this eating disorder over the past year, and just this self-love and learning to truly love myself. It's always a journey. We're always working on it, right? I caught your meditation this morning and
yeah.
things that you talk about, but I wasn't loving myself. I really wasn't. And through the healing work that I've been doing, through joining Fit for Service, through my music, it's all been coming together in a really beautiful way. And I just feel so much more myself and free and in my body and in my mind and spirit. And yeah.
What did you discover about the why of why you were doing the eating? Because I know there's a lot more attached to that, underneath it. Was there, the comparison, or was it about control, or what else did you have to heal? I guess is my question that came with that rather than
Yeah.
the actual physical act of the eating and that. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think just for me personally, from a young age, I had always been, I live in LA, Hollywood, been reading those magazines, looking at these celebrities from a young age, just felt like diet culture had imprinted in my brain, this is what you need to look like in order to be valued, right? And I placed all my value on how I looked. And of course, also accomplishments. It has been a big thing for me. Like, accomplishing. I'm an Enneagram 3. Like, love to be accomplished and show that I'm accomplished, right? And that was a way to like seek out love. But I think for me, just like the whole looking at diet culture in a different way. And of course, now it's beautiful. There's so many other representation of women in different bodies now and different sizes, very, super healthy women that are in larger bodies. Like, it's beautiful, right? And we can be healthy at any size. There's a whole movement called the health at any size movement. And it's beautiful, like, to just witness that, but there wasn't that representation for a really long time. There wasn't anyone coming out and saying like, yeah, I'm in a larger body and I'm super healthy. And
we had to live through heroin chic in the 90s. I mean, I'm brainwashed.
That's what I thought I needed
scarred.
to look like. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to look like Kate Moss. I'm not.
No. Why would you want to?
I know, right?
Right now. I mean, if you're naturally like that, that's the thing. It's all about what is your body naturally supposed to be like, and I was trying to contort my body into something that was a lot smaller than I'm naturally supposed to be like. And just recognizing that, so anyway, it's a lot of body image stuff, just like confronting fears of, well, like when I go back to perform, I'm going to be in a larger body. Like what's going to happen? Now I'm just like, I'm so much more free in my larger body than I was when I was weak and, weighed less and wasn't eating and just had no energy. That is just like truly a gift. And just, I've had to completely rearrange my thoughts around what a woman should look like.
We all have. I mean, we're products of this culture. I mean, I say we, meaning, we're both women in our 40s. So I think we qualify for that. But, hopefully like my children are not going to experience that as much. My daughter can't even make sense of some of the things I tell her, she's like, what? Like, I mean, but they still see that, but I'm thrilled that it is opening up. And thanks for sharing that. Cause I know it's vulnerable and stuff, but that's part of that what'd you call it? Unsticking.
Speaking my truth. Yeah. I mean, and I wrote a few articles on Medium about my journey, and I'm constantly learning new stuff as well. But, when I first joined Fit for Service, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to be so fit. This and that. And am I ready? And I was like, still like, I was like coming out of this, this experience and healing and, still healing, of course. But so I just realized it's not about how you look. It's really not. I just placed so much stock on that for so many years. And it's about energy. It's about love. It's about connecting. It's about, community and experiencing things in a group and having common interest and common goals and just supporting one another. And people's aren't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Go ahead.
Oh, I drew the card liberation today. And I love that word because it liberates you, from all these shackles.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be strong and powerful and, look good. And, for me, like I've just have shifted my mindset. I'm like, okay, how can I feel strong and powerful in my body? Like not, how can I weigh a certain amount, because for years that was what it was.
Yeah. And it's shifting to what you define as looking good. You know what I mean? Like, because you look great. Like what, like and we just have to shift that too, like our own perception of what looks great. And then you go, I'm killing it. I look great, and you go like you look great. You look gorgeous in pink. And, so now I say that, but it's been a whole road for me to get there too. And I mean, it's frustrating for me to admit that because, I'm, 48 and it's just like, you go, why, what took me so long? But it's just part of the learning that we have to do. Good Life Clothing speaks to how we dress now. Because while we might not be dressing up, we still want to dress well. Good Life is American made from the finest, highest quality materials, and their core collection of premium essentials keeps you looking good and feeling great. And I know because I actually wear it. Good Life just opened a new store right here in Austin in the Domain North Side. And you can stop by that Austin location and get 20% off your entire purchase with my code AMY20. That's AMY20. And guess what? It's also valid on your entire purchase online at goodlifeclothing.com. Again, that code is AMY20, AMY20, and it's good here in Austin or at goodlifeclothing.com. Elevate your game with Good Life.
It is. And also it's a part of the way that society is now. It's opened up for us to receive these teachings and these learnings, like a couple of years ago, it wasn't out there. People weren't talking about mental health. They weren't talking about their struggles.
No,
it was just like, okay, look like this, Us Magazine,
Yeah. And I'm so happy that that's shifting. And I don't think there's any going back. Once that's out of the bottle, I think it's like, it's on,
Oh yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful the way that we're all transforming and coming together in collective consciousness right now. It's just a beautiful time.
Yeah. So, would you say that like I know one of your, but what's your spiritual practice like? Like, I'm just curious, what are some of the tools that you do? I know music, of course, is one of yours. And I like the title Enoughness, by the way. That's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Just a product of everything that I've been working through, and just that feeling of not feeling like I'm enough. That core wound, those core beliefs that we have, some of us have, and I just really went deep in it over the past year through my recovery and, through being alone, being through the pandemic and being by myself in my house. And I didn't want to create for many months. I was just like, wasn't feeling it. I was feeling very depressed. I was, just going through my stuff. And then I started to just like work through it and open it up, and then started to create. And then really the Enoughness EP was mostly made earlier this year, at the beginning of this year. And I just started to get all of these bolts of like inspiration and started writing lyrics and started singing and doing the things that I was terrified of doing. And, I'd done like lyrics and I'd done singing before in my music, but like not to the level where I was saying like, okay, this is like my like personal story of transformation. This is what I'm going through. And so there's like a song on there, Embrace Your Shadow. And I'm talking all about embracing all the messy parts of ourselves and loving it all. And I Love Me is another song on that. It's like a mantra to myself. It's just, like, I love me. And I had a pivotal experience in Sedona last year. I went on a soul journey for a few weeks there and just really like fell in love with myself. Started writing that song there. So, so the music has just been really a vehicle for me. And I hope other people resonate with it as well. I made it for myself, but also for others to tune into and help like raise their vibration and help love themselves. And, definitely music. Another part of that is what I've been doing more recently is mantras. So chanting mantras, like when I'm in the car, like at home, sometimes in the morning, just using my voice as much as possible.
Ooh, tell me more. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a playlist on Spotify that I listen to. It's like
you might have given it. Oh, you gave me one of your playlists. I'll need it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've got lots of playlists. So just like chanting along with mantras or just doing my own, like tapping into like whatever that word is that's coming through for the day. Or like sometimes I'll pull cards and like, like liberation, like making a song, like coming up with, your own chant about liberation or your own mantra about liberation can be fun. Like creating your own melodies, like singing it in different ways. Yeah.
I'm feeling this. No, I really, really am. Like, I need to do that. I need to be doing that, because I haven't been singing really much anymore. And, I'm constantly like it's in the back of I still take a voice lesson every week, but, I've been kind of like, how can I merge the two? And that speaks to me. I like that a lot. Like, and, and plus it encourages people to just go do it themselves too. Like just come up with something.
Right. And you don't have to be a good singer to do it. You just do it.
Thank God, because I'm not that great. I mean, you were complimentary.
You are.
It's taking a long time.
Seriously, I was blown away when you started singing. I was like, what?
Thank you.
That song is like on rotation in my playlist now.
Oh, it's such a good song. And of course, we're talking about Satsang, who was here and played it on the podcast. I Am. Yeah. So beautiful song. I know.
Yeah. So then other than mantras, meditation, breath work is a big one for me that I've been getting more into. I've been doing this like it's called body temple training with one of my teachers, Adriana from Art of Loving is her Instagram. And it's like wild woman, like spiritual work. And like for me, I never danced that much really because I felt like, I don't look good or like I look awkward or whatever.
Right, we're making all these judgments.
Yeah, exactly. But I realized like a lot of what I need to work through is that I'm in my head, right? I'm like constantly in my head. I'm a doer. I do a lot of stuff, right? But then in learning how to be a bit more, I started this practice with her and have been going through some of her trainings, and it's literally like dancing around like a crazy person, chanting, yelling, humming, like just moving your body however it wants to move, like jumping up and down, like, just like acting like an animal, like.
And what happens?
It just unlocks this creativity and this freedom for me. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it helps get me out of my head and into my body, which is what I really need. Because I think I was just so cut off from my body for so many years and trying to be, a certain way, and wasn't really tuned in with how my body was feeling. And so in order for me to get out of the thinking mode, I've got to literally just like start moving.
Isn't it funny too how like our spirituality is, you think it's removed from your body, but it's not, like you had to get in tune with that to get more spiritual.
Right. Like, well, and they say, trauma is stored in the body. Right. So, yeah. So, I realized I had been trying to think my way through all these practices and wasn't really in touch with how I was feeling. I think that's common for a lot of people. Like
big time.
I think at a certain point, I was just like, especially touring with all these big artists and being on stage and, doing all of that. I really had to like shut off my emotions and be like, okay, like we're doing this. It just
like business or something.
Mentality. Yeah. Business. And, it was just, there was a lot of just crazy stuff that would happen, day in and day out. Like when you're on tour, just a lot of stuff. So a lot of things, curveballs thrown at you, and you just have to be like stoic and like, okay, I'm handling this. Right. And then I just didn't allow myself a lot of time to process that stuff. And I would party and, just like do a show. Just at the end, we would party because it was just such a crazy clusterfuck sometimes.
When you say party, what were y'all doing? Like everything?
just like mostly drinking, smoking, just like not, but I've been through many different phases of life. I was a raver when I was in my 20s, and I just realized now, like, I just don't need those substances to help me feel better. I can relieve stress in other ways. I mean, yeah, it's fun to drink and I still do or smoke or whatever. But like when it had become that the only way that I was handling my stress, and not allowing myself to feel my emotions because I was, cutting it off with these practices that I was in then. So now it feels really good to have other practices to, step into. I actually didn't drink or do anything for 5 years. And I started again a couple of months ago to like experiment with it and just, they're like, oh, well, what's it like to have like a glass of wine, or whatever. And that was part of my restriction thing. It was like all or nothing. And now I'm just like, yeah, can totally have some wine or beer or whatever if I want. And
what was it like?
Big deal.
Was it any different?
Yeah, it was different. Yeah, it was different. Yeah.
Did you like it? Not like it?
I think I do, but like, just a little bit. Like I can't take too much, right?
I feel like I don't even get drunk anymore. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it just doesn't hold that much for me anymore. It's weird. It's like I've outgrown it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think for me, there was like kind of the novelty of not doing it for so long. And then, like when I was in Costa Rica, I had a few drinks and I was like, okay, like this feels fun. But if I have more than a few, it's not. So I realized that. And it's definitely not like something that I reach for if I'm going through a stressful time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's so many other things that are amazing, like what we're talking about, these practices.
Yeah.
Breath work and, group meditations.
I agree.
Like a crazy person.
Yeah, absolutely. And and they all just provide this foundation for more growth. And who knows what this is going to grow into, what you're doing now, where you're building this whole way. And as someone who was an independent artist and didn't know how to do all the stuff that you do, so much value. And I know I have a lot of listeners in Austin too. And there's just so much value in what you provide and what you can teach people to do. And that is really hard to find because I spent a long time, trying to figure out pedals and I didn't really know where to turn. And it's just like trial and error, really, a lot of it. And so, and I think that's what takes people so long. So if you can accelerate that, it's really cool.
Totally. And that's why I created my Transmute program, because it took me 20 years of, grinding to like get all the knowledge that I have. And I was like, if I can help other people shortcut their way to an amazing live performance, using technology. And so you see like people like Mark Rebier or like Imogen Heap or like some of these Elise Trout, like amazing artists that are doing live looping and controlling visuals and like doing crazy stuff. And, those are the people that I admire and look up to. And I just thought, well, if I can create a shortcut for people, like that's what I want to do with my program. And literally it's 8 weeks, an 8-week program to develop and design your live performance using all the technology stuff. So if folks want to learn how to like put effects on their voice or their instrument or loop their instrument or add visuals to their set, all that kind of stuff. It's super nerdy and super fun.
Do you have to buy a lot of stuff to be able to do it?
Not really. I mean, just have a laptop and then controllers. I mean, I have a lot of stuff in my studio, but that's just because I love gear. But you really just don't have to have that much stuff to start out, like microphone, like a controller, Ableton Live, the software. So,
and you don't have to know how to do it. I'm just curious. I would love to learn to do it, but
I mean, no, that's what the course is about. That's what the program's about. And everyone gets to perform in the festival online at the end of it. So it's like,
what a good idea.
And then you got to perform. Everyone has to perform. Yeah,
what's the time commitment of it? I'm sorry. I really want to know about this.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got, so it's self-paced learning. There's a bunch of different videos, but I say like block out 5 hours a week for the learning.
That's not bad.
Yeah. And then we've got a Q&A every week and then a workshop every week. So if you have questions about the material, you can come get your questions answered by my team. And then I host a mastermind every month. We talk about our goals. And then there's also a creative empowerment workshop with a friend of mine, Rachel Chase. And so it's holistic. It's not just like, okay, we're going to learn about this nerdy technology stuff, which is a big part of it, but it's like, what are your goals? What do you want your show to look like? What do you want it to feel like? What do you want it to sound like? Like we really envision the type of performance that these artists want to have. And I just help walk them through that. And that's been a really big part of my journey over the past couple of years. And my mom's a life coach, actually. So like some of that stuff rubbed off on me, but like, really finding out what is my ultimate joy and where I'm in my joy. And for me, that is performing and creating music. And so for me, I am constantly like looking at, I have this board, it's called the Joy Money Matrix. I became a facilitator in that as well. So like, it's a process created by my friend Lauren, where you just line up, okay, I'll write down all the things that you make money that you can make money doing. What of those things are in your ultimate joy? What are like kind of in your joy? Like what could you pass off to someone else? What could, so you just literally like rearrange your life according to like what brings you the most joy and the most money.
Where those align.
Right, exactly. So I have this like upper quadrant on my board. It's like a big board of just stuff. And, so for me, my highest joy is performing and creating music. And that's why, performing in Costa Rica was such a dream for me because, after not having performed for like a year and a half because of the pandemic and being a performer, that was important to me. And, so like one of my goals is to perform more in retreat spaces. And that was like my goal at the beginning of 2020. And I actually had a retreat booked in Portugal that I was going to perform at. And then that was actually the week that the pandemic hit. Oh. So I couldn't go. So Costa Rica really for me was like, okay, this is like picking up my dream, right? This is like the space that I want to be in, is performing for all of these amazing folks, these communities of people that are all into personal growth and development and consciousness and community. And so it's exciting, and so for my transmutants, as I call them, they get to like see what I'm doing and like follow my journey as an artist. And I get to help inspire them to create in different spaces, right? Because I feel like I used to think that being an artist was like, I think what a lot of us did, you get signed to a label and you get, you get put on tour and you get to go around to all these shows. And now it's just so different, especially as an independent artist. There's all different kinds of ways that you can make money and that you can perform. And, over the past year, I did a lot of performing online, like a lot of live streaming. And that's another big part of what Transmute is about, is like teaching people how to live stream properly with the proper audio and how to perform online and create fun visuals and things like that. And so it's just interesting because like, you can monetize that. You can have a Twitch channel, you can, have a YouTube channel, and you can be performing on there regularly, or Instagram or whatever it is. And now that things are opening back up again and people are starting to perform out in the world again, it's just so exciting. So just putting it out there.
I love it. And I, going back to, I think it's so smart that you teach people to figure out the whole vibe that they want to create. What does your artistic vision look like? What are you really going for? What is your voice, your unique voice, because like so many people write that off. I've always really admired artists. I'm curious who some of your favorites are. Actually, you mentioned a couple names, but those ones who pay attention to every detail and down to, the clothes they're wearing and the visuals, and just, I've always like been so into that, just because I recognize like, oh, they're not slacking off on whatever their artistic vision is and the experience they're trying to give me.
Totally. Yeah. I just so attracted to those artists that are like just 100% themselves, like just completely authentically themselves. And like Mark Rebier is one of the artists that I mentioned. And, you know, do you know who he's like the guy, the microphone that he wears like a robe every time and he does looping with his vocals. Anyway, everyone should check him out because he's just so entertaining. And, I went to one of his shows. He had a drive-in concert in the pandemic. It was so rad. But, you know, he just like stands up there like in his hotel room or like in his house or wherever, just like different places, like on the road, and wears a bathrobe. And
I'm looking at him.
Vibe. Yeah, he has this whole vibe. And, you know, he does this looping thing. So he's using technology. He is, looping his voice, so he'll put down like a bass line, then he'll put down like a lead line and like harmonize with it. And just like, it's just so beautiful the way that he does it. But he's also really funny and entertaining at the same time. And he's just like 100% himself, you know, so artists like him and like also Reggie Watts, who I've worked with and is a client and, you know, friend. And he like has been doing the weird live looping thing, vocal thing for a really long time. And then, you know, artists like Imogen Heap, she had a couple of, you know, hit songs, and then people have like sampled her songs more so. And she's still like sort of like an indie artist. I mean, she isn't an indie artist, but she's like created her own gloves to control her voice in real time on stage. And it's just incredible. Like there's just so many amazing artists that are like creating their own thing. They're like, well, I see, you know, like her. I want to create this MIDI glove and put it on my hand and manipulate my vocals. And it just sounds so badass. I don't know. I could keep going on and on.
I love it. That's fascinating. She created her own glove. That's badass. Is it just for her?
Did she just like press her finger down like this and like it all of a sudden this harmonizer pops on, you know? That's what we teach in Transmute is like, you know, if you have a glove or if you have like a button on a controller, like pressing the button and then turning on this thing that makes your voice sound like it's doubled and it's a fifth above or an octave below or whatever. And that's the stuff that I geek out on is like seeing artists for the first time be able to access this whole other layer of creativity, because I really feel like technology allows us to overcome our limiting beliefs. And, you know, I toured with Kanye for 7 years. Before I worked with him, I wasn't a big fan of auto-tune. I kind of thought, okay, well, if you're using auto-tune, you are not a real singer, right? It's like this.
That's common. That's common.
Yeah. Yeah. And it became super popular and everyone was putting it in their songs. And, you know, and then I started working with him and I realized, wow, this is amazing. Actually, this is a tool that allows him to be emotive, that allows other artists to express their emotions in a way that they wouldn't feel comfortable with if they didn't have this like effect on their voice. And it just changed my perspective completely. And I just started viewing auto-tune as an amazing tool for artists to help be more of themselves, right? And then after a while, you don't need the tool, or maybe you do because you like the way it sounds, but like it's just incredible. So there's tools like auto-tune, there's other, you know, tools like MIDI stuff, or like when you play the keyboard, like for instance, I'm more of a violinist. I'm not really like I can play the keys, but I'm not amazing at chords. But like there's tools where you play one note and it plays a chord for you. And some people might think it's cheating, but I really just think that these are ways to open up and access your creativity. And I don't care how you get there, just as long as you're doing it. So I really view technology as a way to overcome your own limiting beliefs about yourself as an artist.
Oh, like quit being such a purist and just embrace what we've got and go for it. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
That's an interesting perspective right there. Thanks. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a little while to get around to it, but now I truly believe that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure, because it's unconventional. Like, you know, like even just talking to me, I'm like, wait, what? You know, it does sound like cheating, but you know, I'm glad you said that too about the limiting beliefs, because even as I was sitting here talking to you and thinking, I was sitting there thinking, I want to do this. I need to do this. I need to take your course. Ever since you told me about it in Costa Rica, I was like, that's probably something I need to do. And because I've always wanted to learn it. And it's just felt overwhelming. And anyway, you saying that, then even while we were talking and I was thinking, oh, I should do this in the back of my head. And then I was like, oh, come on. That ship has sailed. You're too old. You're too, which I don't really subscribe to those. I mean, I think you know that about me. I'm big on like, keep going and keep learning and keep transforming. So I'm glad you said that, because I was like, well, I think I could do that, like hit a note and have a chord.
You could. I mean, it's super fun. And I've had people, I have like retired folks in Transmute, actually one of my
That's
students,
so cool.
He was like retired. He was in the fashion industry and he was just like, wanted to join, and he joined and he fell in love with it. And now he is like one of my TAs and he like teaches workshops and stuff like that. So
what does he do to create? Does he create his own music, and what does he do with it?
Yeah. He's just like retired, just does it for fun, was in fashion, just like, creates all this dubby music now. Like, yeah, it's so cool. And it's inspiring. It's really inspiring.
I just want to encourage anybody that's listening to this to like explore something like that, because I'm extremely tempted to do it.
Any like age.
Any age. What a beautiful thing to put out there.
Not any mindset though. You really do have to have the mindset of like, this is something that I really want, and I'm willing to like put in the work to do it, because I have had people that have paid for it and they just didn't show up. You got to show up. You got to want it, of course it's like anything, but I think just not having that fear of the technology, I think a lot of people are like afraid of it. And that's why I wanted to create this, amazing community and platform so that folks could just come in and be supported. And it's like, kind of like, it's interesting because after I joined Fit for Service, I'm like, oh, wow, like there's so many parallels of what we've created. Of course, like the content's completely different, but like the community and the way that people come together and help one another. And like, I really am looking for artists that are high vibe, that want to support one another, that care about the community, that care about helping each other rise up. So.
And you're holistic about that. Yeah. I mean, it's like that whole thing that we're doing, and that I love that right mindset. Oh, Laura, I'm so happy we got to sit down and talk, and I got to hear more about your story, because I really didn't know it. And it's such a beautiful transformation and what you are growing into through your healing.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. And I love what you're doing. I caught your meditation. I'm so inspired. I know that you do that a lot. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure to be able to sync with you and your community.
Well, it means a lot that you mentioned the meditation too, because it's using my voice in a different way, and I have my own like hangups that I get about it and stuff like that. So it's been something I just had to push myself and grow into, and even just doing an Instagram live, or even just putting a video on Instagram, you can have this angst around it. And so thank you for that. And as we close, what were you going to say?
I was just say like, that's one of my goals, is to do more lives and hold myself accountable. So seeing you do it and seeing other friends of mine just doing it for themselves, it doesn't matter how many people are on the live, right? It's for your own practice, for our own practice. It's really inspiring. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, so as we close today, I just wondered if there's anything else that you really feel called to share or reiterate or just say before we go. I just want to open the floor to you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I feel like I said most everything. Check out my Enoughness EP. It's on Spotify and Apple Music. And if you want to support me on Bandcamp as well, you can purchase the actual files of the songs. And I've got sample packs on there and a bunch of stuff on my website. So if you want to play with my violin samples, if you're a producer or want to be a producer, want to check my stuff out, you can play with my violin samples and vocal samples. And yeah, my next Transmute accelerator is starting in July. So we're enrolling for that. And yeah, just like follow me on IG and hang out and be a part of my community at the Transmute Academy. It's free to join, and yeah, just hope to see.
Well, I'll put links
and screen names.
Yes.
Up.
I'll put links up to everything too. It'll all be in the notes. People can find you. And of course, I'll reiterate several times everything. And I just, I loved your whole message just about really growing into who you are and listening to what life is showing you, and your physical journey around it too. Really incredible.
You so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Laura, for being here today.
Thank you, love.
Love you so much.
Love you too.
Thank you so much to our phenomenal guest, Laura Escudé, today. Thank you, Laura. I mean, a future classical artist. That is such a badass thing. Music, tech, consciousness. That's so who she is, and everything that she does is so incredibly beautiful. And I'm just honored to know her and share her story today. So thank you to her. And remember that you can find her, you can find Transmute at thetransmuteaccelerator.com, or you can just find it on her website too, which is Laura Escudé, ESCUDE, lauraescudé.com. And she's also got the same title on Instagram, Laura Escudé. So big thanks to her. Be sure and check out her work and her EP that's just out called Enoughness, and her playlist. I think she's got a bunch of playlists too. So she's just phenomenal. I'm such a fan. So as we leave today, I just want to take a sec and invite you to really look back on what you've overcome. It's so easy for us to forget. So if you never made a list, why not just do it? I finally did, and it's helping me. It's just nice to have a little something that you can read through every now and then, maybe even add to when you remember something and you're like, oh yeah, I survived that. Holy shit. That's badass. Let me put that little feather in my cap, literally write it down. Anyway, I just want to encourage you. Like, that's a really easy practice. It doesn't even have to be a practice, except when you run across it in your notes app, you read it and then you get a little boost and you know that you're raising that vibe just a little bit more today. And then it just continues the momentum, right? Because we do have momentum when we're overcoming 100%. Like, when we can remember those too, it becomes more apparent in a way that can give us the push when we need the momentum, when maybe we aren't actually tangibly feeling it. You're feeling a little low. You have something to refer back to. You got you, because you love you. And I love you too. And thank you so much for being here. If you want to share these with a friend, I'm honored. If anybody came up in your consciousness today, that's the universe like saying, hey, maybe they need it. And so, I don't know, why not? I think somebody would like her academy. What the hell? Check this out. So cool. So anyway, I'm honored whenever it gets shared. I'm honored when you are here. So thank you so much for that. I'm so grateful. Also grateful to our team here at Hot Pie Media. Thank you so much. I had Sarah in the house today recording. So thank you, Sarah. And just please, rate, review, subscribe to the newsletter, to the show, hit the 5 stars too, if you can. I'm very grateful if you can take a sec to write a review. Love that so much if these speak to you. And always reach out. Let me know what you think. I'm available at amy@amyedwards.com, or you can comment on Instagram or send me a message there. Hopefully I'd get the message there, but you can always reach out via email. I'm so grateful again that we get to share this space together. And I'm excited to see what it grows into, because you're a fucking rock star, and don't forget it, because you're overcoming shit every day. So keep reminding yourself, just like I am. Yes, we do the work, we show up, we get better together. Until next time, peace, love, health, wealth, joy, abundance, confidence, all the good stuff to you. Till then. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this show, please rate and review. It totally matters. And I encourage you to spread the love too, and share this episode with a friend if you feel called. Find me and my newsletter sign up at amyedwards.com. And you can also connect with me on Instagram at RealAmyEdwards, or in Clubhouse at Amy Edwards, or write to me. It's amy@amyedwards.com.